Catrell, and welcome to First Love Yourself, where love, life, and Christ combine. I am so grateful to have you here on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment with me. In today's video, we're gonna talk about treating, how you treat others. But before we get started, if you're new here, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more uplifting and empowering content like this. So get comfortable because we are about to get into it. Let's go. So earlier today, I was listening to podcasts and sermons, the whole thing like I'm usually doing. And as I'm listening to this podcast, I start to hear about different ways that people are treated. And it started making me think about how we treat each other. Sometimes we don't even think about how we're treating somebody else. We kind of just think about ourselves, like, what's in it for me? What's beneficial for me? How can I advance in life? How can I level up? What is it that I could do in this season? Instead of serving and helping others. And I don't think there's anything wrong with self care or loving yourself, but it is also important to pour into others and to be mindful of how we're treating other people because you really truly never know what someone else is going through. And sometimes I'll meet people and they'll say, "Oh, you just always have a smile." But it's not that I always have a smile, it's that God has continuously been blessing me. And I want to be the light that God shines in me for other people. Like I want them to get that from God, but I also want them to see that God has is a part of my life, if that makes any sense. And so when I'm living life, I'm always trying to think of how can I help somebody else. Not all the time. Sometimes I'm selfish. That's just me being real because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm just like this angel all day, every day. Like no, I make mistakes like every other human being, and I also want to try to be a better person. And so in this season, I want to make sure that I'm treating people well. I want to make sure that if I'm friends with someone, I'm treating them how I would want to be treated. If I'm an employee, I'm treating my job like I would want an employee to treat a job that I was the boss of. If I'm in a relationship, I want that person to be treated the way that I want to be treated. And sometimes we kind of forget because we think about, okay, what can this person do for me? What can I get from this job, this position, from this friendship, instead of thinking, what can I do for this friendship, for this job, for this other person? And sometimes it's really nice. It feels really nice when people are doing things for you. But you know what feels even better is doing stuff for other people. I cannot tell you how amazing it feels when I'm in a store or something and there's an older lady or someone else that needs help with something. I'm like, hey, do you need help with anything? Most of the times the older ladies say no because I don't know if I like offend them. They're like, and they're thinking, oh, I might be old, but I got this. But I'm still like, I still want to be helpful because if I see someone trying to like do something, or if there's like a lady with like 3 kids, I'm like, hey, do you need help with, like your bags or something else? And they'll be like, no, I got it. And they'll like have 2 kids on the hip, one kid holding their hand and groceries in the other hand. And I'm like, I know you got it, but I still want to be helpful. And any way that I can try to help other people. And if I see someone who is making an effort and they still have stuff going on, or they're still like kind of struggling or something else, I want to try to help if God intends for me to help. Or if I see someone needs something, I don't want to just be that person that's like a passerby, like just standing on the sidelines like, oh well, someone else will help them. I gotta think like, no, what if I'm the only person that will help them? There was this crime that happened like a long time ago, and I'm just gonna tell you the gist of the story because I don't remember all the details, but it was in one of my psychology books. And there was this assault or something that happened in the middle of this town and in the city, and the lady that's getting assaulted is like, everybody's watching. Nobody called the cops. No one did anything. Everyone's description was different. No one could tell like what happened in the story or anything. And in psychology class, we said that this happened because everyone was expecting someone else to step forward and to do something. Everyone expected someone else to call the police. Everyone else was expecting someone else to step up to help this young lady, and no one did. And so whenever I think of my life, I think about that story. I think about other people who may not seem like they need help, but they do need help. Or may, if they look like they need help, then I want to be the person that helps them. I don't want to just assume that the person behind me, beside me, around me is going to do it. I have to be that person that's going to do it because I see it. If God brought it to your attention, my attention, then that means that I'm the person that's helping. I'm the help. I'm the person that's supposed to come in, that is supposed to say, hey, how can I help you? How can I serve you in this life? Not how can I serve you, like don't say that to people, but that's my heart posture, is how can I serve somebody else? If I see you struggling in the season, then I'm good. And God is saying, I bless you so you can bless other people, then I'm gonna help them with time. If they need a babysitter, if they need something else and they're trying in their life and God says that I need to help this person, then I need to help them. If I see that they don't know how to do this thing and maybe I do, I've learned a skill that can help somebody else, then I need to teach somebody else how to do it, which is why I think God intended for me to do these videos, because I learn stuff every day. And when I'm learning it, I want to be able to help other people with the things that I've learned. If I learned a better way to manage finances, I'm going to tell people about the budget. I'm going to tell people about Dave Ramsey or Anthony O'Neill or whoever else, because I want to be as helpful as I can to people who watch the videos, to people who encounter me. And I don't want to just be taking space on this earth. I want to be doing something with my life. And if I see a young lady in a relationship and I know there's some things that I would have done differently, I'm like, hey, it's all good and dandy. Everything looks good, but always remember to love yourself. And you're beautiful, you're smart, you're intelligent. Like, you that person. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're not that person. But also, like, we get so in this, I'm good by myself kind of movement kind of thing going on, that we forget that other people have feelings too. And that's where I feel like the disconnect is happening. Sometimes we try to motivate one group so much that we put the other group down. And I'm a true proponent in believing that you don't have to put anybody else down to motivate yourself. Just because you're doing well doesn't mean this other group needs to do badly. It means both of y'all could be winning. It's enough blessings to go around. If God intended something to be for you, you're going to get it and can't nobody take it from you. So this whole division, we need to be against each other. Oh, this person has this, so I'm just going to complain and pretend like my life isn't good, is not where it's at. We really have to be appreciative and thankful of the life that we have, because God has plenty of blessings for all of his children, for all of it to go around. He's not just like, oh, I'm going to just select Ann over here. Because, Trinesha's another person. She can't receive blessings. No, he's like, Ann, Trinesha, hundreds, thousands, the whole entire world. Everybody can get some. If you want a blessing, I got it. I got one with your name on it. And so sometimes we forget that. And so I'm really trying to be mindful of when I'm doing something in life. If I'm learning, I'm sharing it with other people so that they can learn. They can know the things that I know. And when I'm talking to young ladies or women in groups or whatever else, I try to make sure that they know how special they are, but also knowing that this young man that they're talking to is also special. Like, God is not favoring one person over the other. God will favor each of us, because he will make sure that we all get everything that it is that he intends for us in our lives. And self-respect and respect for another person is big. If you're respecting yourself, don't forget to respect the other person that you're talking to. Never ever raise your voice, because why ruin your voice box like that unless you're trying to sing. You just have to really be respectful of one another and show them the respect that you would want them to show to you. And if they're not respecting you, then you have to walk away, because if you stay, you will end up becoming someone that God never intended for you to be. And you get the attitude, the popping up next. Just kidding. But no, you get a whole attitude, just turn into this whole different person that God never created you to be. You're like, I don't even recognize myself in the mirror. And it's because you stayed too long. We got to know when it's time to just dip. Like, we got to know when it's time to stay and actually work through things. Not everything is super serious. And the things that matter to you, when you know it's a hard pass, you're going to have to just leave. Like, don't just stick around and then depreciate your value because you feel less and less because you're with someone who doesn't see how valuable you truly are. You have to know, hey, I am valuable with or without you. So I'm gonna keep it moving if you don't know that I'm valuable. And if they do know that you're valuable and it's a misunderstanding, we can't just have this whole, I'm going to just leave every situation because we have a disagreement. Like, no, that's normal. You're two different human beings. You have to be mature enough to communicate and don't be like me, like I was in the past, and don't communicate your feelings. Like, you got to actually speak up and say, hey, this is bothering me and why it's bothering you. And not everything is an issue, just the things that matter the most. Tony Gaskins says this thing in Make It Work, his book that I read, and it says that if it's not big enough of an issue for you to leave the relationship, like if it's just something that you're nitpicking, then leave it alone. Like, find a way to figure out how to communicate how you feel without making it, like, don't just bring up every single issue. The things that really truly matter to you in your core, that's what you bring up. And these disagreements and whatever else is going on in your friendships, any type of relationship that you have in general. So while you're working through life, always remember to be mindful of how another person feels. And I like to put myself in a situation and say, okay, if I did this to me, how would I feel? And so if I'm like, I'd be like, nah, then I'm like, okay, don't act like that. But if I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine, then I'm like, okay. And I know that every person is different, but it keeps me grounded and it keeps me mindful of other people's feelings instead of saying, well, oh well, they just have to deal with it. Like, no, that's not right. If I'm all like I'm dead wrong, then I definitely need to make a different decision. But if it's something that I just was ignorant in knowing, then I can learn from it and then learn a better way to communicate that in the future. So I just wanted to hop on here real quick before I go into Bible study, but I just want to, the main thing is just to be mindful of how you're treating other people, because you never know if your words are going to be the thing that breaks that person. And you never want to be a person breaking somebody. You want to add value to your life and other people's lives. So just think about what you could do that could help somebody else instead of what's in it for you in this season and in the rest of your life, so that you can make sure that they know that you're not just using them, or you're not just trying to think of me, me, me. What can I get from it? Like, what can you really add of value to other people's lives and to your life, so that this world can be a little better? And I think that will help with the division. I think it'll also help with relationships in general, just romantic, friendship, every kind of relationship there is. Because when you add value, you know what it is that you're doing. You don't have to question, well, am I doing enough? No, you're doing everything that you can. So keep doing what you're doing, keep being the best version of yourself, and be mindful of how you treat other people. And just be blessed. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.